Hey plant friends, I'm Marina from Millennial Planter. And I just wanted to do a quick video about like basic beginner tips and tricks to plant owning. I'm talking like super basic. Like you just got that beautiful plant from the big plant store, you come home and you're thinking, now what? These basic tips are, some common problems that I've seen happening with new plant owners, stuff that I've done, stuff that I've seen other experienced plant owners do, and just hopefully it'll help you in your plant journey a little bit better and just help your plants thrive, because that's all we really want at the end of the day. So first and foremost, I highly recommend researching your plant because a little news flash, plants can be poisonous, especially if you have kids, especially if you have animals, which I didn't know. I've had my cat eating off of Dieffenbachia, which is actually in my background right here, and it is a poisonous plant. Luckily she is okay, but it could have been a lot worse. So just make sure you research your plant, find out if it's poisonous or not, and if it is, just put it in a higher place so nobody can reach it, or just put it in a room by itself. Just like take extra precautions so that nothing bad can happen. My next tip would be to concentrate on watering. Overwatering is the #1 killer to all indoor plants. And I thought this too when I was first starting out, like plants need water every single day. But they don't. They really don't. They usually need water once a week, once every 10 days, maybe if they're outside in the heat and it's 100 degrees outside and they're in the baking sun, then yeah, maybe they'll need some water every single day, but usually they don't. Most plants will let you know when they're thirsty, especially if you have a beginner plant, because most beginner plants are really expressive. So they'll start to droop a little bit, or if you have like a super dramatic, super expressive plant, they'll completely just like look like they're wilted and dying, but they're not. They just need water. Check if the soil's dry, because usually for most plants you would want to wait for the soil to dry before you overwater it. I mean, really, if you think about it, most people don't like to have pruny fingers when we're in the waters for too long, and plants don't like to have pruny roots. I mean, it's not scientifically correct, but you could just think about it in those terms. Don't overwater your plant. And it's a lot easier for your plant to come back from underwatering versus overwatering. Next, I want to mention lighting. There is such a thing as too much lighting for indoor plants, and I've seen this happen a lot of times, and it's all in good nature. I know nobody wants to like buy a plant and have it just wither away in the sun and burn, but 9 out of 10 times a plant is not going to be okay with being outside for a full 10 to 12 hours in the baking sun. They're gonna die, they're gonna burn. Like us, if we're out in the sun for too long, we burn, they burn, except they'll pretty much die. Maybe unless you have a cacti, but even some cacti can't handle intense heat like that all day, every day. So put them in the shady spot that's known as indirect light. If you have your plant indoors and it's really close to the window and you realize that it's getting some crispy leaves, maybe move it back from the window or get some sheer curtains. Sheer curtains help a lot. Just get some sheer curtains and cover your windows when the sun is the most intense, so it's still getting the light, but it's not getting scorched. And while we're on the topic of lighting, there are a lot of plants that's advertised as low light, but they're not actually low light. Yes, they can survive quite a while with no light, but plants need some sort of sunlight to survive. I mean, that's just kind of their thing. They need food, they need sunlight to live. So don't leave your plant in a dungeon with no windows, no light, because it's gonna die. I mean, it might die a slow death, but it's gonna die and it's not gonna thrive, and you're gonna come back to that plant and it's just gonna be looking sadder and sadder every day, and because it needs some light. We have the topic of watering and light kind of down. Now we're going to talk about some pots. We have plastic pots, there's terracotta pots, there's ceramic pots also. Really, it doesn't really matter necessarily what kind of pot you have as long as you're paying attention to the soil. But what you do want to pay attention to is your drainage. I'd say like 50% of pots have drainage holes. So it's just a hole at the bottom of the pot that helps you from overwatering your plant. So, you know, your plant gets to the point where it's drooping a little bit, it's thirsty, the soil's dry, and it needs water. Well, you just go ahead, water it as much as you want, as much as the plant needs. And even though you'll see water start to pool over or maybe spill over a little bit, it's just gonna come right out of the drainage hole, so it's a lifesaver, and you're not worrying about the exact science of how much water you need in a pot without drainage holes. Super helpful. These terracotta pots also are porous, so it helps your plants breathe a little bit better, and it also helps absorb moisture a lot. So if you do have a tendency to overwater, you can definitely go for the terracotta pots because they help a lot, and it's really the only kind of pot that I use at the moment. And these plastic pots, as you can see, this one has holes too, but it also has the saucer attached to the bottom. So when you water a plant in here, you just gotta tip it over and have the water drain out completely when you're done watering your plant. Plastic containers do tend to hold moisture a lot more than terracotta, so you might be watering your plant less frequently. And don't judge me, I know my pots are dirty, I haven't cleaned them. And lastly, this kind of goes hand in hand with the first tip I got with researching your plant. Just try to best match the environment that it comes from. Look up some care tips for your specific plant and just try your best. You just gotta get to know your plant better. Because trust me, once you look at your plant every day, you'll be able to tell some telltale signs of just different things. If your plant's not doing well, if it's thriving, you'll definitely know, and you just feel like the proudest plant parent ever. And at the end of the day, we can only try our best. And if the plant ends up dying despite our best intentions, then it's fine. It happens. Behind every urban jungle that you see on Instagram, there's hundreds of dead plants that you haven't seen, or plants that are struggling, because everybody has dealt with their fair share of struggles and plant heartaches, trust me. And you can also just buy the plant again whenever your heart feels like it's ready. So I hope you all really enjoyed this basic guide to plant owning. I hope that helped at least a little bit and helped your plants thrive a little bit more, or just give you some information on owning that plant that you've been eyeing at the big box store. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I do want to go into more in-depth tips and tricks video because I do have a lot more to share, but I do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!